In this lesson, we just want to double check that the revenues were correctly posted to the profit center that we defined in the substitution, and we'll just have some additional comments of what is important to consider with these substitutions. So, well, for this, let's jump to the general ledger group of apps to start the manage journal entries transaction. Well, it's just taking a bit longer than usual to load, but okay, it's now finished. And as parameters, we will start with our company code, of course. We will also enter the accounting period and of course the fiscal year. And with this, let's just click go on the right hand side. So we got the summary of the documents that had been posted. And actually, well, the one that we want to check right now is the last, well, the first one, which is the last one that we have posted. So let's click on that one, on the ID. And in the context menu, let's click again on the ID of the document. So, well, of course, we have all the data for the header, such as, like the company code, the user, the periods, the document type or journal entry type, and of course at the bottom we have the line items. And if immediately we see that the revenues were posted correctly to the shared SETI services profit center, the YB600, which is the correct one. But of course, that is, well, again, something that is coming because of the definition of the substitution. And something that we would like just to say before we finish the lesson is that we have to be careful and never abuse the substitution function. Because, well, if you paid attention, especially like in the previous lesson, it's easy just to realize that the system will always carry out the substitution. But for example, it never show a warning message or just like an information message alerting the user of the change. So of course, the end user will just go maybe away with the idea that the revenues were posted to the profit center that they selected. And of course, well, there are like two main consequences of this. The first one is that because of the activation of the substitution, the system will always carry out this substitution when the prerequisite checks are met, but it won't let the user know. And this is correct because in the end, for example, the profit center YB600 is the correct one. The other one that the user was trying to post to is wrong. But then again, just when people just realize that the revenues were not posted to the ones they selected, at first they will just be like angry, and they will even if they don't know about the substitutions, they will just say that the system is just not working correctly. So well, that is one of the things here to consider. But the other consequence is that the system will always carry out the substitution when the prerequisite checks are met. So of course that just means that we should only create a substitution if the value, for example, again, this YB600, it's always the correct value for those accounts that we define and those tax codes without any exception, because there is no room for, okay, maybe now I want to use a different profit center, so the substitution shouldn't be working. You cannot do that. I mean, of course we can deactivate, but that is something an end user, for example, could never do. So it gets complicated, of course, if sometimes the value is YB600, but some other times it's not. So that is not just a possibility. When we have substitutions, it's just because the value, for example, here the constant is just set in stone when those are the accounts and those are the tax codes. So of course, again, that just means that we have to be very careful, never abuse this function, and only create substitutions when again the values are like really correct and set in stone, to say it in a way. So well, with this, let's just close the this app. And with this, well, we're just finishing this lesson and inviting you to continue learning with the next one, in which, well, we will just check how to deactivate actually the substitution. But again, this is something that we have to do in customizing. So it's not like, for example, immediately that an end user could do this. Actually, end users, of course, they don't even have access to the customizing. But even if they ask a consultant to do this, it's not like right away that in 5 minutes or 1 minute it will be deactivated. So again, we should only define these and activate these substitutions if we are sure about the values, and we know for sure that the value, the constant value, is like set in stone and should always be used.